Nerderotic.com.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to a very short review of Westworld. We're going old school here. This is how I started my channel. I used to do these little short reviews, 15, 20 minutes live, and then I would end it, and that would be my video. Hi, my name's Gary. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I am about to hear myself here. Yes, I just saw an episode of Westworld, Season 3, Episode 3, and it's right back to the same old Season 2 tricks. This show just can't seem to get itself straight. Unfortunately, it was an awful episode. It's predictable, it's contrived, and unfortunately this one centered around Tessa Thompson, who I'm not a fan of her acting, which is the same as it is in Men in Black, which is the same as it was in Ragnarok, which is just smirky, confident, sassy, very unlikable. And we centered around her character, and the big mystery is what brain is inside of Charlotte? Well, it's Teddy. It's obvious it's Teddy. It's going to be Teddy. They didn't come out and say that, but I know that because Dolores said, "You belong to me." But more importantly, it's woke storytelling. And it's pretty easy to figure out that let's put a guy in a girl's body because we could be uber woke. And that's what they're going to do. And every dude is an idiot or evil. Caleb, played by Aaron Paul, was saved by Dolores this episode. And it was just boring for one. And as I said before, contrived. And again, there won't be much to tell because not much happened this episode. This isn't even a shadow of what this show used to be. It's covering themes that have been done to death. And where I thought this show was going to be an exploration of consciousness, which it still might be trying to be, it's still robots killing people. And quite frankly, I don't like the robots. See, you're supposed to like the robots, or at least one of them. And we're supposed to sympathize with Dolores. And it seemed like the last episode, we were going to be, it was going to be May versus Dolores, and Dolores was just going to be an outright villain, which I am absolutely for. But you're centering entire episodes around her, and I just don't like Dolores anymore. I liked her in season 1. And every time she's on the screen, it's just this flat-faced, I'm in control of everything, and we're just waiting to watch Dolores succeed. I don't ever feel like she's in danger because I know she's going to win because she's a strong and powerful female lead. And that's not entertainment to me. Men, women, I don't care if they're just sitting there, succeeding all the time. You can harken back to the 80s and argue with me that, that's what 80s action movies were about. And yeah, they were, but they were also played by people with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis. These people had charisma and they were charming and they were enjoyable to watch. Like I've said before, with most things I watch movies for character. I'm not, believe it or not, in a 30-year-old boy who likes to yell at plot holes. I don't mind that much if it's a likable character. I'm not a canon fundamentalist, and if I'm charmed, some of my favorite shows are Buffy, Firefly, and of course Doctor Who. That's not the most, as far as story and plot is concerned, those aren't the tightest forms of storytelling, all right? But it's their character that shines through. It's the acting. It's the charm of the, lead actor, whether it be the Doctor or, anybody from, Sarah Michelle Gellar. It doesn't matter as long as I'm charmed and I'm interested in the show. I don't care about Dolores because there's nothing there. There's nothing there to care about. What am I watching? This killing machine, freeing humanity. And it was a lot of exposition this episode. So we're going to quickly run through it. And by the way, I'm probably going to start next week doing these on Nerderotic Live. Because that's where they're all going to get imported because nobody cares about this show anymore. The ratings have dipped. They lost 57% of their audience in the first episode. In the second episode, they lost more. They only had 750,000 overnight viewers. And as I said before, this is the worst timed narrative possibly of all time. It's dark, it's dystopian, and there is a line in here where Dolores, I'm going to paraphrase the line where she says, it's so easy how they, it's going to be very easy for me to, send this world crashing down. And considering the timing that we're in, do people really want to watch this? I mean, who wants to watch this? Again, Westworld used to be kind of fun. It's not fun. And it seemed like it was going to be that way last episode, but here's the difference. Maeve. Maeve is played by Tandy Newton. Tandy Newton. She is a better actress, and she's got charm. She's got charisma. Therefore, we like to watch her succeed, even though she is a bit of a Mary Sue. They did take away some of her godlike powers. And last episode, they did make some major course corrections with some characters that Doomcock liked and I liked. I didn't think the episode was that great, but it was good enough for me to want to keep watching the show. If it's going to be back and forth, we're going to have a Maeve episode and then a Dolores episode. I'll skip the Dolores episodes because they're boring. And Aaron Paul isn't doing it because he's just a damsel. He's a Mansel. He's a Mansel in distress, and that is deliberate. And there is a way you can tell that story where it'd be not so obvious and engaging, but they're being just completely on the nose. So, no, they didn't come out and say Charlotte's character is Teddy. I'm just convinced it's Teddy. I'm absolutely convinced. So we find out, I'm going to go through the plot real quick because I'm going to be ending here in about 5 or 6 minutes. So basically, Charlotte is a host now. We don't know whose brain is in Charlotte, but again, I can guess it's Teddy. And apparently the imprint is coming through. Like, if she's in Charlotte's body, like Charlotte is trying to come out. So whoever's in there is harming themselves. Charlotte is cutting herself, and she's cutting herself in the design that you would cut the skin to create a host, or, it's got perfect lines and little circles right here, which was kind of interesting. And if I didn't think they would go into, if I didn't think they were going in a woke direction rather than a narrative direction, it would probably be interesting. But it's not. It's predictable. So they send Charlotte into Delos. She needs to keep the operation going, so they keep making hosts for their kind so Dolores can have her revolution. She of course wants to take down Insight. We find out Garrick is the name of the guy that Maeve met at the end of last episode, and he is on the other side of this, and apparently he's either in control of Insight, or it almost sounds like they wanted the same goal. I'm not really sure. Again, I only saw it once. We get a little background on Caleb's character. We find out he was abandoned by his mother when he was 8 years old and sent into Child Protective Services. And we know he's taking care of his mother, who doesn't recognize him right now. And, we send Charlotte to Delos a couple times in this episode, and they almost get bought out, and we find out it's, I want to make sure I get the name right before I say it again. Is it, I don't know if it was Gary. I didn't write it down. Doesn't matter. The bad guy from Ocean's 13. And he's on the other side of this. He's the one who wants to hire Maeve to take out Dolores. Apparently, Dolores, guess what Dolores is, everybody? She's the girl who's the key to everything. Literally, she has the key to Insight in her brain. So they need to take out Dolores, who apparently is just in control of everything. She can buy whatever she wants. She can get a room whenever she wants. She controls all the machinery. She can take control of robots to save Caleb when he is almost killed. And when she does, she ended her first episode getting shot. They save her, call an ambulance, figure out she's not human. Then some fake police come by. She kills them. Caleb tries to help her, so she's like, "You're different." Then she's all, "Walk away." And Dolores is playing a male role, a very male role in this. And that's, again, on purpose. Dolores's or Charlotte's assistant at Delos, who's like her head of security, is pregnant, which is, it's sure it's fine, but they're really like the messaging in this is just it's funny at this point. I started laughing halfway through this episode. They set up a scenario. Charlotte has a kid, and of course she's divorced. Of course she gets the kid, even though she's a total a-hole. And they insinuate a little bit of the bad dad narrative there, but he was pissed off that she forgot to pick up her son because she's not her. The son is insinuating that he doesn't recognize his mom, that he can kind of figure out that it's a fake because it's probably Teddy. But Charlotte is coming through in this for some reason. And this is a narrative that might have been interesting if they had spread it throughout the entire season, but it feels really rushed in this episode. And eventually Charlotte will become Charlotte. That's what I predict here. And maybe that's their going to be their, their narrative with consciousness, that you can imprint people, but then eventually they become themselves again. I don't know how that's possible. I guess there's no soul in this world. Also, the guy who ran Delos in season 2 was, when they were trying to make copies of him, he was harming himself too. So it might have something to do with that. Again, I'd have to watch it again, which I don't know if I want to do. I watched last week's episode again and kind of enjoyed it. Now, the only other person I think it might be is Armistice. It's hard to remember names when the show was 2 years ago. But I think she's the Irish head of security. So we figure out in this episode that Insight's in control of everything, and they have an imprint of absolutely everybody. That's how Dolores was able to figure out Caleb's worst memory as a kid. So somehow Insight got that memory. How? Did he talk about it to a therapist and they were surveilling it, or were they able to copy an imprint of his brain? Why is Dolores so hard to catch if the bad guy from Ocean's 13, who I think's name is Garib or Sarab, I can't remember, if he's able to know so much, how come he doesn't know that that they're missing some hosts from Westworld? Because Delos knows. Delos knows they're missing Maeve, specifically. So in the episode, Charlotte is shown a recording she made during the massacre at the end of season 1, where she's saying a goodbye to her son because she thought she was going to die. So she finds a host and brings it back online and records it. And somehow that is, they're able to get that. For something that I thought was such a smart show, it's certainly, it's mystery box. That's all it is. It's mystery box, J.J. Abrams BS. And I kind of was hoping that Nolan's narrative would win out over the Jar Jar Abrams-esque narrative. And unfortunately, it does not. It does not. So there was no big ending to this. Again, Caleb was captured because he helped Dolores and they offered him money just for her location. He said no. He's got some implant from a military implant on the roof of his mouth. They disable it and they hang him over the side of a building. Dolores is able to take control of a robot, but it doesn't really do anything. It just falls. And then she comes in and shoots both the guys. And she's just killing people left and right. And she rescues the Mansel. And she decides to tell him everything. She tells him her real name and what her goal is, and it's to unplug Insight. And now she wants to free the human race or kill the human race. And maybe she's lying to Caleb. I don't know. In the meantime, Charlotte is she is the one who is completely in charge of Delos. There's just all kinds of women large in charge, except for the bad guy from Ocean's 13, who we don't know what he's about, and we haven't seen Ed Harris's character yet. So there's that. It ends with a meeting with the bad guy from Ocean's 13 and Charlotte, and he doesn't know that she is a host. So she is able to see who he is, and she made it. But we don't know if this is going to be the host Charlotte or if she's going to become Charlotte at some point. there is a little revenge fantasy scenario they put into this narrative where Charlotte's son mentions meeting a friend at a park and petting his dog, and then she sees the next day that it's an adult. So it's a P to the E to the D to the O, and she kills him. She sends the little boy away, and she disconnects all the camera, or the guy had a device that disconnects all the camera, and she kills him and gives her son the dog. But as she's killing him, she says she's starting to remember who she is. I don't know. Again, it was really contrived. The whole thing was just absolutely contrived. We didn't learn very much, though. I'd probably have to go over the episode again, but I don't want to. I don't care about this story because I don't care about these characters. I don't like Charlotte Hale. Wasn't a fan of Charlotte Hale in season 1, but as a small character who was annoying and off smoking, that's fine. But not the biggest fan of Dolores or Charlotte. And Caleb, Aaron Paul's a likable actor, but he's nothing in this show. So I don't even know if I'm going to continue it. We'll see. But I'm going to start doing these on Nerdrotic Live. I do have to run if there are super chats. Let me see. I don't want to make Doomcock wait too long. Okay, we got a couple we can do here. Toxic Man Flu for $2. So much live at Nerdrotic today. Yes. I guested on Doomcock's stream earlier, and I'm going to run over to the Inquisition right now. Please join me over there. It's over on Doomcock's channel. We are going to start in 4 minutes. So I got a couple minutes here. I'm going to do this. Chris Sinard for $2. Episode 3 was more like episode Z. Yeah, it was boring. I started, you hit that 10-second fast forward. I just started hitting that. There's one scene, you guys know I hate this. People walking through doorways slowly when you know there's no tension. Charlotte went home and she was nervous about something, and it was because her ex-husband was there that we didn't know about. So why am I supposed to know that she's tense, that somebody's at her house that I didn't know that was her house, or it didn't tell us any of that. So again, for being such a smart show, I think they think they're smarter than they really are. Of course, I didn't catch every little mystery box element, but if you really think about it, the payoffs from some of the mysteries this season will probably be a lot like the payoffs from season 2. Like I've said, woke storytelling is basically 3 ingredients with 6 variations. Man bad, man duplicitous, man coward. So it's going to be one of those 3. And the human race is horrible and it needs to be destroyed. And that's a great story to tell during these times, by the way. If we've seen a little hope, it's supposed to be Caleb, but Caleb has been abused like hell by the system. So, of course, he's going to want to join the machines to bring it all down. The only thing it did well in this one is it showed a little bit both sides with Charlotte's son. It showed that, this isn't a terrible world. We got the kids there, and they finally, they haven't showed that yet. Every person they've showed in the real world deliberately has been terrible. Problem is, Charlotte's such an unlikable character. They call her a predator. Show has gotten awful. You can't have Evan Rachel Wood and Tessa Thompson as leads. Thank you. Show is missing Ed Harris so bad. Maeve was missing this episode. Yes. Those are 2 of the worst possible leads of any actors in Hollywood. They have no range whatsoever. I mean, Evan Rachel Wood was, I kind of liked, I liked Across the Universe, that little musical with the Beatles song, but it's had Beatles songs. But, this is somebody who dated Marilyn Manson. So, those Evan Rachel Wood and Tessa Thompson are fine as bit parts when they have better actors and actresses around them. This show should have Tandy Newton as the lead, period. That's my opinion. You're right, Rare Spawn for $4.99. Matt G, thank you for the Rainbow Unicorn. Yes, thank you. And for the $1.49, I appreciate it. Michael Henley for $10 says wrecked. Yeah, this show is wrecked. I don't even want to cover it anymore. It's garbage. It's absolute woke garbage. And you know what? If I'm wrong about the Teddy thing, maybe I'll make a donation somewhere. But I don't think I am. I think Charlotte is Teddy. Christian Delorme for 5 Canadian dollars. Hey, Gary, a Canadian trucker here. Love your thing, buddy. You are my new Art Bell. Cheers. Oh, my God. That is the highest praise. Seriously. Art Bell was a talk show god, and I miss him dearly. And wow. Hey, we need you guys, are the truck drivers now, especially the ones who are working. Be safe. You are literally our heroes right now, and we need to keep you guys going. I hope you are well, and thank you for doing what you do. I know they have you guys working overtime right now, and you're keeping everything together. You're helping keep everything together. So hail to the truck drivers. Drive safe, and, we'll get through this. Brian Yoder for $1.49 and another rainbow unicorn. Little phallic symbols there. Yeah. And, Cracklin gives me a pink ice cream cone, which is terrible because that's what the waitress, gave little 8-year-old Caleb when he was abandoned by his mom, because we have Caleb, who was supposed to be our male lead, is basically in a female role in this. And it's the same thing they did in Star Trek, Picard. We're seeing the exact same thing. So there must have been some memo going out in Hollywood that we're going to start writing male roles, but we're going to put females in the male roles, and we're going to put males in the female roles. And this is going to be for progress. This is actually going to progress things. What it does is makes for shit storytelling, garbage storytelling. What narrative? I can see the narrative. The narrative is coming through. It's the real life narrative is coming through. What's supposed to be a narrative that's, maybe a story that makes us think about consciousness and what's real and what's living and what isn't, and how we treat each other, and how do we achieve consciousness. But it got boiled down to basic bitch storytelling. Sorry, I'm not as eloquent as some other people. I am a crass individual. I was kicked out of 3 high schools, and I am not a writer. I am not a professional critic. I'm just a dude who's watched a lot of television and has been a nerd for 45 years. And I was a champion of the show, and I no longer am. Don't waste your time with it. And HBO, if this is what you're going to be, you're going to be in for trouble. People are rejecting this stuff left and right, and your ratings prove that. All right, everybody, I'm running over to the Inquisition. I almost said exposition, but that's what this show was a bunch of exposition that sucked. And this will be on Nerdrotic Live when it's done. It's going unlisted now. Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you in a couple minutes on Doomcock's channel. That is the Overlord DVD. We're starting right now. Cheers.